Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerren, and today in the Rich Auntie Life series, we are talking about 7 steps to becoming a millionaire. But before we get started, I want you to head over to beacons.ai/Rashida McFerren, grab your product offerings, and then come back over here and spend a good 10 to 20 minutes with us on the 7 steps to get to the next level. I'm going to dive right in. First of all, happy June. Can you believe that we're already in the 6th month of the year, which means that the first half of the year is down, gone basically, and then we have 6 more months until Christmas. That's crazy. So much has been going on our end. He just graduated high school last Thursday. So excited for him. And then next week he turns 18. We're planning this little extravaganza for him, for his friends to celebrate this huge milestone that he's coming into his own manhood. And I'm excited for him. So, that is what's going on in our lives. And in the process of that, we are in the process of selling our home. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the time has now come for us to move on to what they call greener pastures. I have been in the middle of getting our property ready to sell. We're already listed and we're going to do it a different way. Instead of listing it on the traditional MLS, like a Texas realtor normally does, I'm actually selling my property on the crypto market. And what I'm going to do is create an auction and sell the interest rate, which is a 2.75 interest rate. And we are currently starting the bidding at 1.6. And the way it's working technically is like you are not going to find a 2.75% interest rate anywhere in this country right now or for the next 5 to 10 years unless some lucky strike of genius comes down from the planet Jupiter and tells us, that all of us are all of a sudden getting a 2% mortgage rate. That's not happening. The reason my estate is listed at 1.699 is that it's going to save you money, period. And so I did the numbers on it. So buying a property of this size, my property is 4,300 square feet. It sits on a quarter acre lot. Buying a property of this size and magnitude in Texas at this moment at a 7% interest rate is going to cost you $3 million over the life of the loan. And that's with you paying the bank interest. The life of my loan is, I think, maybe 1.3 million. Paying it over the course of 30 years based on when I did the loan back in 2020. And I got in at a very good time. Like it was no better time in history than to buy a house in mid 2020 when I closed on this house. My interest rate is amazing and it's hard to come by. That is what I'm using to sell my home because who wants to pay the bank $3 million when they can just pay them 1.6? Like, come on. You just giving away money at a 7% interest. I'm excited about our transition. We are planning to do some traveling, planning to possibly build a modern farmhouse, and then we'll go from there. My son is getting ready to transition into college in the fall, but we don't know yet. Just a lot of little stuff going on in our world, not big changes at all, right? But I'm excited about the transitions and changes. My original plan, we're going to get to the millionaire, 7 steps to becoming a millionaire in a second. When I first had my son was to set off and trek the world and go see a bunch of places that I have not seen. And while initially it was exciting, 20 years ago when I was 26, doing that right now is just, I don't see me doing it long term because I was wanting to do it for like over a year or 2 years. And I think I've lost the desire to do it because everybody and their mama is out here trying to travel the world just to say they out here traveling. And it's just like, it's a huge turnoff. I wanted to do it back then because the friends I had at the time were in the military. They were traveling around the world and they were getting to see all these amazing places. And I was stuck at home with the baby. And it's so funny now because as the tables have turned, they're all now at home with kids like under 10. And I have an 18-year-old and I'm free. And they're like trying to figure out like how to balance the rigmaroles of raising a child in their mid 40s. Honey, I am done. Hello. Okay. I was like, yeah. While y'all remember all them trips y'all was posted on MySpace and Facebook and how you were traveling here and traveling there and I was at home with a baby? Yeah. I bet you missed that time in your life. But at the time when I made the plan, I was wanting to do all of that. And I'm not saying that I don't want to travel. I do. I just want it done in an organized fashion, and I would rather my travel take place around me doing business, which will lead into another conversation we'll have about my transition back into corporate full time, because that was always the initial plan, was to build my business, build it to a point of profitability, and try to figure out whether or not I'm going to keep it or sell it. And that's pretty much where I am right now. And then go back into corporate and go into a different field. Specifically for me, I'm looking at doing investment banking, private equity, or being a corporate trader. It's going to be one of those three. And I was sitting here the other day in my office in this very same spot, looking at all these roles, trying to figure out which direction I wanted to go in. It's a challenge right now. I am at a crossroads in my career while he's transitioning and going and starting college. I do want to send special shots out to all the people who came in town and supported us to see my son graduate because, honey, we only got 8 tickets. His class was 560 people and they graduated them in 2 hours. I was so impressed. I was actually overly impressed by the way the administration and the principal handled the overall ceremony and how efficient they were. That was an amazing thing. I'm going to jump into our content for today, which is 7 steps to becoming a millionaire. And so I've gotten to the point in regards to this millionaire journey that I've just noticed some things. It's like social media and or just online advertising makes you feel like once you become a millionaire, everything in your life gets easy. And it's not like that. Will you have some problems that will be solved as a result of having millions of dollars in your bank account? Absolutely. Yes. Will life be a little easier for you to navigate because you have 7 figures in the bank or you have 7 figures worth of assets, however, your millions are stacked? In order for you to build yourself over the course of, say, 20 years, and I'm looking back, I have this green notebook that I got from probably Dollar General or the Dollar Tree back when I was 24, 25. And I'm going back through all the stuff that I wrote in my 20s about what I was reading, all these books that were telling me what I needed to do. And as I'm going back through the notes that I took, some of the stuff just does not make sense. And it's pop psychology in regards to economics and financial empowerment. A lot of the notes were from Rich Dad Poor Dad. I still think that is an amazing book. But some of the stuff that I wrote down here, just taking notes and quotes of it, I'm looking at now and like thinking that makes no goddamn sense. What the you know what I'm about to say. Like, why would you even put some of the stuff that you wrote down in this book? As I'm looking at it, I'm like, they're just grabbing for information to put in the book, I assume, and hoping that it will inspire somebody that reads it. But for a 20 something year old who doesn't have a financial foundation and didn't come from a ton of money being in the bank, but grew up around business and real estate, that this is me I'm talking about. I was trying to find every possible avenue I could to learn about financial literacy. And ironically, I end up working in a bank, which is where you learn to deal with money. And that's been my career for the last 20 years. But I'm looking back at some of this stuff and I was just like, this is absolute BS. Some of the statements that were made, some of the quotes that are quoted that have nothing to do with building financial literacy. And I'm just sitting here making notes on top of my notes because I'm looking at myself from 20 years ago. Did I really believe some of this stuff? Because it's easy to take on the foundation from someone when you don't have a foundation because you don't know where to look. And I think what happened with me was reading those ideals and trying to form a foundation of who I was financially was influenced by it. At the same time, I was working in banking and finance. And so I was able to formalize basically my own concept of what it means to be a millionaire, how to build assets. And I'm looking at it because I'm getting ready to give this notebook to my son because I want him to see like where my head was when I was 21, 22, 23, 24, as he's getting to transition into that next part of his young adulthood life and he begins to form his identity as far as money is concerned and how he stewards money in life. I would do stuff very differently and that's why I wrote Rich Auntie Life. because it's based on modern times in regards to number one, online banking, crypto, AI. Hello, we live in a different world today. And so the kids that just graduated last week with my son, they're entering a different world than what I entered 20 years ago. As I'm going back through, I'm having perspective on what shaped my thought of becoming a millionaire and how that's played into my identity as a woman who has built a seven-figure portfolio over the last 20 something years. Real estate is a big part of my life. Real estate is and always will be one of the assets that will be the foundation of building wealth. Wherever my son ends up going to college, I said he can stay on campus the first year, but I'm even questioning that because technically we can buy a house down the street from the school. He can rent those rooms to roommates, and that is now income for him. And so that's where my mind is. My mind is thinking about how we can make money from the situation because we're going to be shelling out at least $10,000 to $12,000 a year for his education, and that's just tuition. Why am I going to pay a campus $6,000, $7,000 a year for his room and board when I can buy him a property close to the school? He can rent out two of those rooms and make double income from being a landlord from jump. Like I'm not into look, I am not in the business of giving my money away freely for no reason anymore. Now I understand that when we were coming up, I went to school, I graduated school in 1998 and then went to college that fall. I get it back then, but now why would I do that? It doesn't make sense financially for me to do that. What makes sense financially for us to do is him buying a house, him renting the house, him getting paid while he's in school instead of spending the next 4 years just being broke. That don't even make sense to me. Like, and so there's a whole nother conversation we can have around the concept of paying for school and going to school. Do I think it's still relevant as much today? No, I do not. Do I think my son deserves the experience of exploring that avenue of his life? I do. And so therefore I am open and allowing him to go down that path. But in the process of him going down the path, we're going to be some investors up in here. We ain't going to be just throwing money to these institutions that don't give you that much value back in return other than a piece of paper. A lot of the institutions you go to now don't even have decent career resources to connect you to companies to get a job now because everybody is switching to AI. If you really want to talk about what I've been doing for the last 2.5 to 3 years on a corporate side, in addition to building my business, I've been training AI models. And so if they're hiring people to do that, that is the way of the world. And while I understand that people think AI is completely going to take over, it's not going to take over as quickly as people think it will because they need us to train the models. Let's get back to the steps. Number one, we're going to decide that we're done playing small. I've said this so many times before. Wealth is a decision, not a wish. It's a choice. It's something you choose to build over the course of your life and decide to be financially responsible with your money. It's not about luck. And I keep saying this for the people that you see online that look like they just lucked into wealth, more power to them. But if you are like me and the rest of the people in the world who had to build from scratch, from zero, in order to get a bag, you know that you making mature, smart, responsible financial decisions is a choice that you continue to make steadily over time. And that's how you build wealth, period. Number two, you monetize what you already own. We are in an age where we have never been before. You could take your intellectual property, put it into a digital course, an ebook, a podcast, a boot camp, a challenge, a workshop, and you can sell your expertise. That is what I do. That is what a lot of people in my circle do. We sell our intellectual property. And if you've been doing a job for any guaranteed amount of time, you have something that you can specialize on that you can teach. I focus on AI and how to make money with AI. Now, how to make money with AI, my Rich Auntie AI Bootcamp. I also talk to you about real estate. I also talk to you about investing. I also talk to you about how AI can be used to transform your life, not just in your business life, but in your personal life. AI has made my life so much easier over the last 5 years. while it's become mainstream. And then I talk about the fact that I've been using AI from a corporate perspective since 2016 because Bank of America started implementing AI into our system structure and the project management in regards to our testing our financial assets. I've been working with AI for a minute. Number three is use AI and automation to make your life easier. Let systems help you grow your money and save time. And you can do that with your bank account. You can do that with investing. Now, would I let AI just completely take over and run my investment accounts? Yeah, no. The robo advising that started a couple of years ago and a lot of banks got fined for it. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. If they had a robo advising division unit, they were either fined by the feds or they shut their business down because the robo advising had gotten out of control. Number four, you have to get in rooms where wealth is normal. We live in a time where becoming number one, a six-figure earner is a normal thing. Learning how to make money online, that's a normal thing. When I say mind your money, I'm saying mind your connections to people. I remember there was a time I got to the point that I was uncomfortable sharing that with the regular people that were in my circle because they literally could not comprehend making like 50K in a month. And I remember one particular person I was talking to at the time, that was the highest I had ever made in a month. And when I told her how much money I made, she just got quiet. I could tell a lot was going on in her head because I was talking about our social circle and I was talking about how there were not many reasons for me to continue to socialize with the people I had previous relationships because a lot of them couldn't relate to who I was as a person, who I was financially, who I was in life, just in general. And what happens when you grow in life, a lot of times you outgrow people, and that's okay. I could tell in that moment that she couldn't comprehend making probably more than 10 grand a month. And I remember thinking to myself that I needed to be around people who normalize making six figures in a month so that I can have conversations with them about how to better position myself in order to build my bag. Because once you get a bag, you got to build a bag. I say this over and over and over. To be honest, I feel like I have not spoken to that person in almost 2 or 3 years because the questions that would be asked is, well, when I bought my house, this is the house that I wanted when I came to Texas in 2012. It was the house that I wanted when I was living in Charlotte, maybe a different plan per se of what I wanted to build for my son back then. I had to go back to the drawing board. And so I decided a long time ago when me and my son became a dual partnership, basically a single mom pair, that I was not going to wait on a man to give me my life. And that is one of the most powerful things that I have ever done because it was that moment in me becoming a single parent that allowed me to step into my power as a woman and not wait for a man to take care of me, which is opposite of what I was taught growing up. Because where I come from, again, my family background, while my mother was a single mother, but our parental structure, I grew up on a farm where my grandfather was the patriarch who controlled the money, the bills, and the business. And he stepped up when my dad couldn't figure out life to save his life. Jesus, that man could never get it together. And so I grew up in a structure where my grandmother, who technically never worked a real job until her last child got off to school. So I grew up watching a traditional structure. And that is what I was taught growing up, is that you go find an older man, marry him, have his kids, you guys build a family life together, and he takes care of you. That is what I was taught. But when I realized that that story did not work for my story, and that in order to empower myself and my son, that I had to own my life and my identity and not make who I was as a woman contingent upon what some man thought about me, that was a game changer for me. Period. It really was. As you get into rooms where wealth is normal, you have to be mindful of the people that you have around you and what you're sharing with the people, because it's like the more money I make, the more hushed I become. if that makes sense. When I make moves, like I just shared the move, I shared the move because I am looking for an investor to buy my property. But when I bought this house, no one knew I bought my house. Not a person other than my son who was with me. I didn't share the news of it until later because I know how evil eye comes back at you, honey, with a side eye times 10. And I have to put protective measures in place to keep stuff in place. I'll say that. Even as we transition out of this phase of our lives now, the next phase of our life is going to be like more modern farmhouse, simple, on some land, like true to where we grew up. I don't need the big fancy display of wealth. I am a simple woman. I like a simple life so I can continue to build my assets. A lot of the times, the issue that happens with people as they get money is like life creep. So they get all this money and they go spend all this money because they're trying to prove to everybody what they got. Let me tell you something. We've been in this house for 6 years. The cars that I drive, one of them I had when I came here, it was paid off. And the other car, I only got a car note on it because I was so tickled with having a car note that was $147, the electric car. It was just something to report on my credit. I paid off half of the car and then I got I think it was a 5 or 6 year car note and it'll be paid off within like the next few months. These are the cars that we've had literally since the red car was 2018 and then the silver car was 2020. So marinate on that. For the last 8 years, we've driven the same cars. I'm not out here in these streets going out just volunteering my money to a car note in a bank. Come on now. If I pay my car off, why am I going to go spend another $40,000 on a car just to have a new car? I'm not that addicted to having new stuff. And as long as I can drive this car and get to where I got to go, and it's still working, my goal is to drive that car until it gets to 300,000 miles. Hello, because that's what they say the Beamers are supposed to get to 300. That's why I got them cars. Now, are they expensive to fix? Absolutely. But our cars are paid off. Why go rock the boat? Now, my son might want another car because why you going to go volunteer and get a $600-700 car note just to say you got a new car? He young, so I get it, what comes with being young. But I'm just saying, I would drive that car until I can't no more, especially if it's a good car. Anyway, you want to normalize getting into to rooms where wealth is normal, access to networks. My energy is going to be very much spent on having access in this next phase of my life. Number 5, invest consistently, put money into assets, not just expenses. Assets, not liabilities. Again, like I was just talking about, that car is a liability until it's paid off. We should pay more attention to how we invest in the markets, especially if we don't know what we're doing when they sign us up for our 401ks. Number 6, build multiple income streams. Don't rely on one paycheck. I do believe in having more than one income stream. However, that stuff becomes confusing and listening to people on social media saying you need 5 income streams, 7 income streams. That is sounding like to me that you have not been able to master maybe one income stream. I tend to focus on one thing, get it solid, then I'll add something to it. And the most I've had, I think, is 3 income streams at one time. Yeah. Number 7, think and act like a millionaire now. Develop the habits, discipline, and mindset of wealth. Very true. Okay, so here's my issue with this fake it until you make it stuff. Like a lot of the pop stuff is just it's just wrong information to have in the marketplace because it's hype. You can think and act like a millionaire, yeah. But if you ain't got 7-figure money, why would you be out here trying to buy a Lambo? You know what I'm saying? Like, make it make sense to me. If you ain't got 7-figure money, why would you be out here trying to buy a $1.9 million estate knowing you barely make $50,000 a year? Come on now, make it make sense. So think and act like a millionaire. When I say stuff like that, I am saying set your eyes and your goals on the things that you want to accomplish. Expose yourself to that energy because you want to accomplish it, and then take strategic steps to get there one by one, and eventually you will get there. Does that make sense? Those are 7 steps. To sum it up, when I say Rich Auntie Life, in one sentence what it means to be a millionaire. You have to earn more, invest more, automate more, and surround yourself with people who are already where you want to be. That being said, thank you for listening. Head over to beacons.ai /Rashida McFerren, and there you will find our course offerings. My book is there for $19.99, and then Rich Auntie AI Bootcamp is there. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please go on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and give us 5-star reviews because it helps our listenership grow. And until when, I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Peace.